Anthony Bourdain once said, "If I'm an advocate for anything, it's to move, as far as you can and as much as you can, across the ocean or simply across the river." This is the Producers Lounge Podcast, the best podcast online for tips and tricks on producing great film, television, and web content. Welcome back for Season 3, Episode 25, hosted and produced by GreaterandGrander.com. On this week's episode, we're chatting with Kyle Rohrbach, who has produced television series, commercials, and web content, including Reading Rainbow, Game Changer, Make Some Noise, Very Important People, Dimension 20, and many more. We discuss the possible value of film schools and trade organizations like the Television Academy, making great comedy in the age of streaming, how to codify a company's values for the betterment of its employees, how to batch shoot streaming series, the future of Dropout TV, and the best wine and cigars to accompany a meal. In addition to producing for 15 years, Kyle is on the board of the nonprofit TO Arts and loves his hometown of Thousand Oaks so much that he ran for city council. Here now is my conversation with Kyle Rohrbach.
So how's your week going?
It's going really well. It's busy. You know what? It's in this industry full of contraction, the television industry right now. Happy to be busy, right? Happy to have work, happy to have things to do.
Yeah. I know, I hear you. Like, I know a lot of friends, particularly IATSE friends, who are like, there's no jobs out there.
Yeah, it's tough right now. It's tough. And I know, like, the governor is working on a plan to increase the credit, ideally attract productions to stick around more and more. But, you know, even that would be a year or two away. And it's tough right now.
And I've seen with a lot of these, like, local incentives programs, like, they're kind of a drop in the bucket unless you're a big production.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well.
I know. It's tough. So happy to be busy, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I was raised and still live in Thousand Oaks, California, which is Ventura County. You know, I always tell people it is happily close enough to Los Angeles where I can drive in, be close to a studio or stage when I need to be, but happily far enough away that I can either remove myself from the hustle and bustle or be closer to wine country, which is happens to be one of my hobbies, you know.
Oh, very
passions. So
what are some of your favorite wines? I'm curious.
You know, it really depends on what I'm eating and what my mood is. I feel like having a favorite wine is almost like having like a top favorite movie or top favorite television. It's like, well, if you give me like 5, you know, I can give you a sample of what I like, but it really just depends, I think, on the mood. In general, I love a big, bold, red, spicy, got a lot of character, right? But also not opposed to like something really refreshing, you know, crisp white when it's really hot out. Right, so yeah, it really depends.
That is awesome. Like for me, I never got into wine, but my thing was always cigars.
Oh wow, cool.
I love a good cigar.
That's great.
Yeah. Particularly, do you smoke cigars at all? Or?
I don't.
Oh.
No. But maybe I need to. Maybe you need to tell me about it.
I was just gonna say, like, the reason like Cuban cigars are all the rage is because they're just like the perfect taste for the palate. Like, generally, when you eat and have a cigar at the same time, it's very like. One will interfere with the other, but like Cuban cigars are just perfect.
The one cigar I've ever had was a Cuban cigar in Cuba.
Oh my.
When in Rome kind of thing, except when in Viñales. I was there, probably 7 years ago and was traveling mostly in Havana, but I had decided that I wanted to see a little bit more of Cuba, so took the 3 or 4 hour, you know, cab ride, taxi ride, car ride out to Viñales. I think a horse was involved as well.
Oh, nice.
But we went to the spot where they are hand rolling the cigars, and of course, at the end you sample the product, and it was an enjoyable experience, including the cigar.
Yes.
And I know what you mean by it kind of suits the palate. It's not when I, you know, grew up imagining kind of like the old guy sitting in front of a cigar spot, just kind of like, you know, hanging out with his buddies, you know, shooting the shit. That there is something that's distinct about those cigars that's different from a Cuban cigar. There's a lot more like caramel, sweetness, a little bit of coffee, and it's more approachable.
Definitely.
So I hear you. That's really cool, man.
Yeah, thank you. So what was it like growing up in Thousand Oaks?
Man, Thousand Oaks is the quintessential upper middle class suburb of Los Angeles.
Like-
Very safe,
Uh-huh.
very protected. Lots of opportunities for family, but when you're growing up, it doesn't seem like a lot of opportunities for teenagers, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is tied a little bit to the path that I took to get into entertainment, because although Thousand Oaks is actually really interesting.
Yeah.
Thousand Oaks is half in the zone, half out of the zone.
That's right.
So
And for those who don't know, you're talking about the studio zone, which is 30 miles from SAG-Hector.
correct.
Yeah.
And so we, to this day, still get a little production, but not a lot, because once if anyone who's listening to this is familiar with kind of the 101 Southern California, like once you get past Calabasas, it feels like you're in a different state.
Yes.
Whenever I tell people that to this day I still live in Ventura County, they're like, why? It's so far.
Uh-huh.
Without traffic, it's less than an hour. But when you then bring in the idea of production and crew and trucks and gear and then dealing with the fact that only half of where I live is in the zone,
Right.
the costs can be all over the place. So going back to what was it like growing up, it was wonderful and great. At the time, maybe I didn't appreciate it as much as I should have, but it gave me the foundation to just be a healthy kid, right? And grow up into a hopefully semi-productive contributing member of society. What it did not give me, because it's really not an industry city,
Right.
was any kind of background in entertainment. So, I ended up going the film school route because neither of my parents were industry alums or people, I'm not a Nepo baby. Just not, a lot of people are. And you know what?
Yeah.
If you have that privilege, hats off. That's really cool. I was not that person. So, grew up with obviously an understanding, and my high school had the mass media program, and there was the team that did the sound at the rallies, and there was that, which I feel like every high school has, but not really film.
Yeah.
Not really introduction to the industry. And so I ended up having to take a different path. But growing up in Ventura County was a privilege. And now that I'm older and have a son myself, there's a reason I moved back, right? Because it continues to be one of the safest places to be.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It continues to be one of the safest cities in the United States, but also now has culture. We have one of the greatest regional performing arts centers in California. I happen to sit on the board of a nonprofit called TO Arts, which is the largest presenting partner there. And we're really privileged to have this facility. It's called the Bank of America Performing Arts Center. It's right off of the 101 if you've ever driven by. We bring in national tours as well as local theater, as well as big names. And so even in the time since I had left and then come back, we've really developed a taste for the arts and for culture. The industry itself is still not quite there yet. I think the zone will always play a role there, but now that I live there, it's kind of the perfect spot to be with a kid working in the industry. I happen to work at a place and with a company that is primarily remote, other than when we're shooting. So it's nice to be able to just work from home. So, I'll tell you how much I love Thousand Oaks, because I ran for city council 2 years ago, unsuccessfully, but I loved it enough that I wanted to continue to stay involved in it. So
I mean, that's commitment. That's a lot of people are like, oh yeah, like I live there, but you ran for city council, you're on the board of a nonprofit there. Like, are you, I feel like the next thing you're going to tell me is like, oh yes, I also adopted a few orphans from the local orphanage. Like,
I did not do that. I did take in a stray cat. Is that the closest I can get? Probably.
There you go.
Yeah.
So which film school did you go to?
I went to New York University. I won't tell you how long ago, but even then it was one of the top destinations for someone that's interested in studying film, and continues to be. I was relatively smart, but not valedictorian, not straight A's, and so at the time NYU was a reach school. I don't know if they still call it that, but the idea that you kind of target different colleges and universities,
Yeah.
and then some you can pretty safely say you're going to get into, and others you're lucky. NYU was in the you'll be lucky.
Yeah.
But hey, I got in, and I think also by the nature of having grown up in a suburb kind of protected type area, I was itching to go somewhere else, try something new. And obviously at that point I was aware that I wanted to be in the film industry at some level. I was fairly certain I wanted to be a producer, so much as I knew what that was, which I definitely didn't. I thought I did. I definitely didn't. But I knew enough that if I was going to spend the next X number of years focused on a specific subject, it would be the film industry, especially because I didn't have that background growing up through my parents or any other route. So I do have a television role model
Really?
that lived his life the way that I think life should be lived. And I think that has had an effect on how I've carried myself in this industry. And that's Anthony Bourdain.
Oh.
I grew up watching No Reservations and then Parts Unknown.
Yeah.
And there is a go with the flow attitude that he had to have by the nature of the show that he was producing and making and hosting.
Yeah.
But has throughout my life influenced the way that I work, because this industry, this job specifically producing, you're going to get all the curveballs. You're going to get the last minute this, the crisis that, right? You just got to roll with it and try to have a good time while you're doing it, and appreciate that you don't know when the next job, the next show, the next gig is coming. So enjoy it right now. Enjoy this moment, this job. And that's how Anthony seemed to live his life and produce his content. And that's how I'd like to continue producing mine.
Right.
Headed off to New York and spent 4 years there. 5 years, actually.
I actually had a similar path, because I originally grew up in Stamford, Connecticut.
Sure. Yep.
And then I wanted to move as far away from my parents as possible. And so I came out, at first I went to Chapman down in Orange County. I did not realize that I was moving from a suburb to another suburb. But it was interesting, and then I transferred to USC eventually. So
that's great. USC is premier film school, right?
That's what debt collectors keep telling me.
Yeah, I feel like that was always the rivalry. Which one, who would take the top spot every year? USC, NYU. Yeah. You know, my son is 16 now, and so he's starting to think about his next step. And I swear, by no real urging of my own, he's also potentially interested in film or television. Although a lot can change, obviously, in your last 2 years of high school. We'll see. For all I know, he'll want to be, a computer scientist or something. But for now, that's his interest. So I started looking at, what are the top 20 film schools currently? And I feel like when I went to school way back when, there were really like the top 3 options, and then a handful of other schools around the country that had programs that focused on it. And then every other school had like a media program or a communications degree. Not to write those off, but they weren't degrees specifically focused on film. You could take film courses or learn how to edit, but you weren't really studying the art of filmmaking or storytelling. Cut to now, there's a lot more opportunity for people interested in pursuing film. And that was a real pleasant surprise to see the number of programs that exist now around the country, because I think that just makes it more accessible, right? It's no secret that NYU, USC are extraordinarily expensive.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get what you pay for. I believe that I did, but at the end of the day, that just isn't accessible for a lot of people. And I think it's keeping people out of the arts, or at least it used to be. But to see the number of opportunities for people now is really incredible. And in addition to that, I also think and hope that we are re-evaluating our expectation that when you graduate high school, you must go to a 4-year university. And I can only speak to entertainment, but Richard, do you know how many people have asked me for my diploma or my GPA or what my grades were at NYU, or if I even went to NYU?
Yeah.
Exactly 0.
Yeah.
I've been working in this industry now for 15 years, something like that, and have worked on many productions, worked with many different companies, have had many different bosses and background checks and everything. And not once has anyone asked me where I went to school, if I graduated, and if I did what my grades were.
Same. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's because you just got to be able to do the job. And so what I also hope is that, and I've tried to train myself to do that too, when I talk to someone who's in high school, my son included, it's not, hey, where are you going to school after you graduate? It's, what do you think your next steps are? Or what are you looking forward to after high school? And I think, obviously, as a proud NYU alum, there is a tremendous value to going somewhere where you get to concentrate your studies and really just saturate yourself with cinema and television and the art form and develop that mastery of what you do. But it's not the only path, right?
Yeah.
There are so many ways to get into this industry, and that's exciting. And I don't know that was the case even 20, 30 years ago.
No, absolutely. Like, same thing. Nobody's ever asked me to see my diploma. They've asked me if I own a truck and what lighting equipment I have. That's about it.
Yeah. Wait, do you own a truck? It's good to know. Always good to have a friend that owns a truck.
Yes. Unfortunately, I don't. I own a very old Chevy Volt. So, but yeah, like,
You'll never get called on to move the couch then. That's a good thing.
I like that. Always looking on the plus side. But yeah, like it's like, it's crazy. Nobody really cares about that. And in fact, I used to work in, please don't hold this against me, but I used to work in reality TV, and most of the producing team that I worked with didn't go to film school. They were all like sociology majors, which was crazy.
I wish if I had gone back, if I could do school over again, I would have taken more sociology and psychology classes. I think part of it is because producing specifically has so much to do with people. It has so much to do with relationships. It has so much to do with understanding the person that's sitting across the table from you.
Yeah.
What is it that they want? What do they need? What do you have to give? And how do you interact with those people? A little bit, what are they thinking? And that is something that I, to this day, if I find the time, would love to continue to study more.
Yeah.
But they're all interrelated, and I think that also goes to the point of, you do not have to study film to be in film.
Yes.
Some of the smartest people that I work with studied psychology, business, law, right?
I know so many people who they did like the first 6 years out of college, they did like investment banking, and then they use that to make some short film or even a low budget feature.
Yeah. And now they're all way better off than the rest of us that went to film school first. Like you said, are now like, how do I make a living out of this,
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I mean, that to me is one of the greatest parts about the entertainment industry, is that there is a pathway in for everybody.
Yeah.
And there is a place for everybody, regardless of what your background is. And to your point about reality television, there is no shame in working in reality television. That is one of the pillars of the television market still to this day. And it is one of the industries that is thriving amongst entertainment in general. And you need to have people that want to be in that space, right? I recently got into the Television Academy, and because of the work that we do at Dropout, which is primarily unscripted, a lot of our shows don't really have a bucket as to where they would fit in traditional, and I'm putting heavy quotes around this, traditional television. I don't really know what that means anymore. We can talk about that. But the first peer group that I got put into, when you get into the Television Academy, they put you into these peer groups that kind of break up what is otherwise I think 25,000 member academy.
Yeah.
So that you have networking opportunities, meetup opportunities, communication opportunities with people that are working in the same space that you are. All to say that the first peer group I got put into was reality programming. Even though I'm not working on a show like Love is Blind, the closest thing I think variety and comedy variety is and unscripted is what we do is reality. And so there is certainly no shame in that. High value. And it's interesting because I'm what they call in the academy a multi-hyphenate. So I'm also in the producers peer group.
Right.
And it's really interesting because the producers peer group is more of what we would consider the traditional scripted television, that kind of thing.
Sitcoms,
dynasty drama. But there's a place for all of it. And I think it's really important that anyone who wants to be in this industry understands and can get excited about the idea that, it doesn't really matter what the big splashy shows are. There's always a place and a corner in this world of entertainment for everything else.
Yeah.
And certainly we at Dropout, a very niche comedy independent streamer, rely on that being the case. So,
and also have a very deep bench of talent there to call upon, which a lot of streamers don't have. Quiddly, for example, they just had money and no bench, and you surpassed them because they went out of business. So,
yeah, we're really fortunate that we work with some of the greatest comedians I think exist in Hollywood right now.
Yeah.
Even folks that aren't necessarily the top of the marquee at a local comedy show, they're still, I think, some of the most brilliant and geniusly funny people that you can find in this town. And we have the privilege of working with. I tell people that when I have the opportunity to be on set, it feels like being at a magic show. To watch people improvise at the level that the people that we work with do is magic. And something I could never do, which is I think why it feels like magic, because you have to be insanely witty, extraordinarily smart, ideally funny, in addition to all of those things.
Yeah.
It's to be able to pair all three of those together is magic, and to be there and watch people come up with it is fascinating to me. To this day, some of our shows feel scripted even when they're not. And we have to convince audience members that the thing that they're seeing was improvised, because it feels like it isn't. It's that good. And yeah, I mean, and that's one of the joys of being in unscripted comedy and in variety, is that it is very people focused. It's talent focused, and that is fun because there's always talent to be found. And just when you think that you've really, scraped the bottom of the barrel, there's more. There's the next generation. There's up and coming. There's people that are, working clubs on the other side of town or the other side of the country that are waiting to be discovered. And you bring them on a show and they perform perfectly, and you go, great. I can't wait to put you in another show. Right?
Nice.
What a privilege. What a joy.
That is great. So let me ask then, what is an average day or an average week like for you at Dropout, since you are the head of production there?
That's a great question. An average week as the head of production at Dropout is 5 days that never look the same. And I suspect that would be the case for a lot of the folks you talk to. Because of the nature of producing, it is everything from getting into the weeds over a show's locked budget, to lock a budget or to not lock a budget, deciding when and where and how we allocate certain resources, to talent negotiation, working with attorneys, going back and forth on the deal for an upcoming season, to set culture,
Right.
to being on set so I can see what the culture is so that we can continue to make improvements to it. And I would say the majority of my weeks incorporate all of those kinds of things and more almost every week.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is the nature of the way that Dropout produces television. Is we have a very humble studio in Los Angeles and only have so much space to produce. So we're more often than not producing one show, putting it up really quickly, shooting an entire season of that show in a couple of weeks, and then taking it all down and getting the next show up and ready. We're not overlapping or doing multiple at the same time. And so what that means is, from a prep, production, and wrap perspective, those stages are overlapping because of the need to just take one show off the conveyor belt and throw another one right back on it. You have to always be thinking 2, 3, and 4 shows ahead. So how that impacts the day-to-day of my job is, on any given day, and certainly within a week, I am working on or discussing or helping produce, usually more from an executive producer type level, between 5 and 10 different shows.
Oh my God.
All at once, right?
Yeah.
And we've grown now. We have my lifeline has been, I have a really extraordinary supervising producer. Her name is Ebony Hardin. She produced with me as a freelance producer back in the College Humor days and is an absolute rock star. When I first started at Dropout, this month, actually, November, is my 3rd year anniversary at Dropout. And thank you. And when I first started 3 years ago, I didn't have the luxury of having a supervising producer underneath me. So it was me as head of production working directly with producers on the shows directly. At the time, when I started, we had 4 shows that were active: Game Changer,
Dimension 20?
Game Changer, Dimension 20, Actually, and Breaking News. Now, just in a little under a month, we'll release the last new show of this year, and that will be our 17th original show on the platform. So when you go in 3 years, we more than quadrupled the amount of shows that we have on our active slate and roster, and that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we have, in that time, had the ability to expand our personnel resources. And so now I have brought in Ebony as our supervising producer who works for me, and she is the front line of defense. She's the one who is now working with the producers directly, which then gives me the opportunity to think a little bit more strategically, higher level, looking forward to 2025 and more recently now 2026. That was a real kind of page turn for us in a meeting that I had only a couple of weeks ago, where for the very first time in this iteration of Dropout, College Humor, this entity, we can now look 2 years ahead, and I can tell you what we'll be releasing on the platform in January through July of 2026, which for big studios is a no-brainer. They could tell, Disney could tell you what Marvel movie is coming out in 2037, right?
Yeah.
But when I first started, we were lucky to know what was happening 3 weeks from now.
Right.
But we are now at the point where we can forecast to an extent that allows us to plan and be smart about the way that we produce things, which then makes the content better.
Yeah.
You can invest resources appropriately. You can bring the right personnel on. You have time to develop a creative, so it's even better.
You can have an all post episode of Dirty Laundry just before Gastronauts.
Because we actually have enough hosts now to be able to do that. So, and back to your original question about what does that look like day to day? For me, it is, and I don't mean to make producing or being on the studio side any less interesting than it actually truly is, but it's a lot of meetings. It's a lot of talking to people, and that is producing. Like we were talking about earlier, it's relationships. And especially in this day and age where a lot of companies, ours included, are primarily remote work, it's the way that we converse with people is through meetings. And so it's Zoom calls, Google Meet, pick your telecommunications software of preference. There is a healthy debate internally about who's Zoom and who is Google Meet. What are you? Are you Zoom or you Google Meet?
I'm Zoom, but I will say I worked at a tech company a few years back where we had that debate as well. And I will tell you that all of our government clients have gone hard in on Google Meet. So
They're wrong. You
Hey everyone, quick break here. If you listen to the Producers Lounge podcast, you know I'm obsessed with how stories get made and who gets to make them. That's why I wrote Threads of Imagination, a book about collaborative storytelling and the art of building worlds together. Published by DSTL Arts nonprofit, which supports young BIPOC artists, the book pulls from my own personal history and even from my family history and the tradition of itinerant tribes telling stories around the campfire. Threads of Imagination is a guide to collaborative storytelling and how ideas grow, evolve, and become something bigger when people create together. Whether you're a filmmaker, writer, artist, or just someone who loves the process behind good stories, this book gives you practical tools, creative prompts, and real-world insights to elevate your craft. That's right, Threads of Imagination is full of exercises, behind-the-scenes lessons, and inspiration to help you create with purpose and community. If you're looking to jumpstart your next project or sharpen your storytelling instincts, this is the place to go. You can find Threads of Imagination wherever books are sold online. All right, back to the Producers Lounge podcast.
gone hard in on Google Meet. So
They're wrong. We can continue this interview. I am Zoom all the way for lots of reasons. We don't need to get into it.
Okay.
But it is a healthy debate at our company, and so depending on the person, that's how the meeting is conducted. But really, that's how we communicate is through through whether it's by one of those, it is some version of an internet-based meeting setting, and which comes with its own struggles.
Mm-hmm.
We've learned recently that we really can and should be doing more in-person discussions. Some things require seeing someone across the table from you.
Absolutely.
Body language, intonation, eye contact.
Yeah.
But 95% of what we do is telecommunication. So, what I do on a day-to-day basis is a lot of, you could frame it as it's a lot of meetings. I frame it as it's a lot of conversations. I spend my day talking to people.
Yeah.
And it's a real good thing because I tell a lot of people this. I'm not really good at anything. I know how a camera works. I could turn it on. I could probably shoot something. I have. But if you were to line me up with me and 15 potential DPs, I would be last in line. More coffee would be great. Thank you so much. Similarly, if you were to need something written and line me up with 15 potential writers, I could write for you. I know how to move around, final draft, but I'm not going to be the best writer on your roster. The one area that I think I am decent at, just I think because I've done it enough and I enjoy it, is directing. But even that, when you line me up, maybe I'm 10th in line out of the 15 potential directors. All to say, I think that is one of the beauties of producing and why people who are really good at it really enjoy it, is because it is about people.
Yeah.
More than anything else. It's about people more than it's about a hard skill or knowing how to do something technically very well. You have to have an understanding of all of it. You have to know how it works. You have to know how the people who are good at those things work in their systems and in their jobs, so that you can help support them and manage them and allocate their resources and skills and talents appropriately. But let's all be very clear. I personally don't possess any of those skills. So it is good that this job that is producing is people-based, because that is the one thing I feel like I'm all right at.
I will absolutely second what you said. And also, I read Bob Iger's autobiography last year, and it's a skill that you use every day. And it's also like that communication skill is never something that you turn off, because often we are friends with our coworkers outside of the entertainment space. And you're always, how do I put this? You're always positioning yourself, you're always positioning the company and the future goals in a way that's going to be positive and productive. And you can't ever just shoot the shit about, like, I don't know, pick a random topic, wrestling or what have you. So,
I think it's both the nature of the job as well as the nature of the people.
Yeah.
the people who stick around and survive in this industry typically are the ones who enjoy it the most.
Yeah.
Not always. We've all met the disgruntled crew member who's just been there a little too long. But I think that particularly when an organization, a studio, a production company is a healthy one,
Yeah.
the people that you meet are genuinely happy to be there.
Yeah.
And happy to be doing what they're doing. So what is the most natural thing when it's your crew lunch, when it's after hours and you all need to go get a drink? What is the most natural thing to talk about? It's the things you all enjoy doing the most, right?
Yeah.
I suspect, Richard, that if you and I were to meet for coffee after this in a non-interview setting, we would still be talking about entertainment,
Yeah.
television, film, producing, because it's what we enjoy doing. And that just feeds on itself when you get people that get really excited about it. And I can only speak for Dropout and myself in that we are actively and passionately, enthusiastically interested in helping make this industry a better place to work. So talking about things like, what are our production values? What does every show, even if one show feels semi-scripted, high production design, only a couple of people, another show is a, late night, talk show or British panel type game show and has 50, 60 people on it, very different kinds of shows. They all have to operate and come from a set of values that are the same so that we can be excited to be working there, right? And the people that are working on the show can be excited to be working there. So this is actually something we just did recently, is start to codify a set of production values, and meaning things like, we don't pay people half-day rates. I know when I came into the industry, that was something that I heard a lot was, well, if you only hire your sound op from 11 to 2, that's only 3 hours, see if they'll work for a half day.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. It's not like when I hire Richard's sound op from 11 to 2, Richard's going to go get another job from 4 to 8. I mean, you might, but it's unlikely, because it's more likely that the time beforehand, the time after, you're packing your kit, getting your car ready, coming to and from set, whatever it is. So I've never understood that, because the opportunity for someone to work in that same day goes down significantly. So we have made a rule that when it comes to production, we don't pay half-day rates. Even if someone only works for 3 hours, you get a full day rate, because it's so unlikely that person's going to work that day.
I'd love to hear more about those values. And one that I am aware of, because I've heard people talking about it, is Dropout is doing profit participation with all cast and crew and contractors at the end of the year.
Yeah. So last year, end of 2023, was the first time that we did what we're calling a crew and freelance worker profit share.
Yeah.
And it was so exciting. The idea being that when you look at the structure of Dropout, we are only 29 full-time staff members. That is a small company.
Yeah.
But when you look at the content that comes out the other side and ends up on our platform, that is the summation of the work of literally hundreds of other people, some of whom have been working with us for years and put in as many hours, if not more, on those productions than full-time staff. Not to say that one job is better or more impactful than the other. They all play a role. It's the beauty of this industry.
Yeah.
But if those people who are freelance and otherwise don't have the luxury of company benefits, paid time off, are going to be contributing any extent on the shows that make the company successful, then they should reap the rewards and benefits of the success of that company.
Yeah.
So that's how it worked. And it was really simple. If any one person last year worked even one day with us, that's all it took. One day. Could be, and this happened. Go or half day, that's right, yeah. But this happened. We had PAs that, you know, on a lot of sets, you try to keep the same production assistant crew, but a lot of times there's a lot of turnover there.
Yeah.
We'd folks that come and pinch hit on a day for one shoot and one set. Those folks who made on the day a few $100s were participants in our profit share at the end of last year.
Yeah.
All the way up to talent who works with us all the time, producers who we work with all the time, our sound mixer. We have a couple sound mixers, but they are not, you know, we don't have very many, so they are working on almost all of our shows all the time, which is a lot of work, and they should be seeing the financial rewards when the company is doing well. We were very fortunate that last year the company was doing well, so that was what we did, and I think it was pretty well received. I also think that you know, it's afterwards there was a lot of feedback like, that's so nice of you and that's so cool, and so I love that we have a company, and I give a lot of credit to Sam Reich, our COO, David Kearns, the other executive level folks who have to believe in that as your philosophy to start in order for that to even become a reality.
Yeah.
And there is altruistic value to it in that sense. But the crazy thing is, it really shouldn't be abnormal. That, I think, is the problem, is that by doing something that frankly just makes sense and seems to be fair and moral and not like extreme, like it's not like we went out of the way to do something crazy. We said if you worked on a show and helped create the show, you should reap financial benefit of that show and company. But that is seen because of not just the entertainment industry, but I think of the capitalistic society that we live in. That's not normal or common, and it should be.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would hope to see more entertainment companies, particularly ones that are doing really well, follow similar steps and similar paths. If not a direct profit share to everyone like the way we did, at least be thinking like that and how you can support all the other people that are participating on your shows. Because as anyone knows, like, I'm privileged that I work full-time for one studio, and as the industry is contracting, I don't have to think about where my next job is coming from because I have one. But I also spent 6 years freelance, and I know that hustle, and it's tough. And I know it's tougher now than ever, and that is a grind that you cannot explain to people until they've been through it.
Yeah.
And any leg up you have to keep going in that way, you should have the benefit of having. It's not rocket science.
Yeah. What are some of the other lesser known production values or development values that Dropout has that you're particularly proud of?
Sure. Diverse and inclusive hiring across the board. It's a harder thing to implement and execute on because of the film industry itself, although it is getting easier.
Yeah.
And I give a lot of credit to a lot of the nonprofits and organizations that have made real effort and hard work to help provide equity to people who have otherwise been left out of the conversation in this industry. Even only a few years ago, when I was asking our department heads, I mean, Richard, I would literally go to DPs of shows specifically and say, I am asking you to be more inclusive in hiring on your camera department.
Yeah.
And it's not because that particular DP or this particular production designer wasn't wanting to be inclusive. It's just that the industry, when you look statistically at the talent pool, seems to be very lopsided in its demographics. However, and I suppose is the point I'm making, is even in the few years that I've been head of production, I have seen both a lot of our department heads really take that to heart and have made tremendous strides in inclusive hiring. But that the availability of talent, which frankly was probably always there, is now more readily accessible because we have resources in the industry that platform and provide equity to those folks. So that is something that is really important to us. More people of color, more people who might not identify in one particular gender or another, more women, right? People who just think differently. You know, it's really easy, especially in a specific genre. When you're in something like comedy, it's really easy to have a narrow point of view and a narrow perspective on things. So as we are developing a show, as it's in pre-production, making sure that we are asking other people to be a part of the conversation in the way in which we produce that show. And in the post-production side, it's also checking ourselves to make sure that we are as inclusive as possible when it comes to, could this piece of content be seen as offensive by a particular group of people, and how do we navigate that? And I'll tell you, it's tough. We, on many occasions, have hired sensitivity consultants, people whose jobs it is, both in and out of the industry, to make sure that you are thinking from all those lenses, because at some point you have to realize that, especially with a small company, there's only so many perspectives and lenses that you can look through. So you have to go out and bring more to the table.
Yeah.
And we don't always meet the mark. It's difficult, but we're trying. And so the idea of inclusion, both in direct hiring, who we bring on to help make the shows, but also in how are people going to absorb this content, is extremely important to us.
There's two questions that I definitely wanted to ask you. First is purely as a line producer. I was curious, how many episodes per day do you guys shoot of a given show? Like, I think I watched Smartypants and I could tell, based on the wardrobe people are wearing, everything was basically shot in 2 days. And I'm curious if similar shows were also shot in such a short time frame like that.
That's a great question. When it comes to the number of episodes that we shoot per show, it really depends on that series. So there are a couple of shows that we can rely on a formula. Actually comes to mind. Dirty Laundry comes to mind. We have comfortably and reliably shot 3 episodes a day for each of those shows, which is great, because that means that if I have a season of 12 episodes, I know that that is 4 days of shooting. And even if we have a dark day in the middle, which that really is host dependent, we let the host decide if they need, fun fact, Lily Dew, absolute champion of a host. We've offered dark days, and she is like, nope, I want to just get them all done straight through, power through it. It's actually worse if I take time off, because it takes me out of the zone, right? Other hosts, when Trap was hosting, well, he also has availability and schedule, thinks he's a busy guy, but appreciated a day off, or we did weekends only or whatever. But when it comes to the number of shooting days, those shows, I can say it's 4 shooting days will get me 12 episodes. On Dropout, we release content every other week. So that's 24 weeks of calendared programming in 4 days. That's a win. Other shows are less predictable. The most extreme example of that is Game Changer. Game Changer is a show where, and if your audience doesn't know, it's a game show where the game changes every show. And for us, has really become a variety show. By the nature of variety, no one episode is the same. So we really treat that almost like you're producing a different live show every time. And some days you can comfortably get 2 in the can. Other days it's 1. So with Game Changer, you're doing, really depends on the season. This upcoming season we just wrapped on, we'll have between 10 and 11 episodes we shot over the course of 2.5 weeks. Smartypants is the most interesting of them all. Smartypants is a show that we produce not knowing exactly how each episode will be structured, because we don't know the full length of someone's presentation. And for your audience, Smartypants is a show where, if you all remember during COVID, people did PowerPoint parties where you would do like a TED Talk style silly PowerPoint over a topic that you were passionate about. We get comedians that do that. And sometimes they're 5 minutes, sometimes they're 10 minutes. Obviously, in the edit, we trim them all down.
Yeah.
But whether or not there are 3 presentations in an episode or 4 really depends on the length and balance. So, and because everyone is so different, all the comedians are different, their approaches are different. We like to mix and match the types of presentations within each episode.
Right. I noticed that there was a lot of variety within a given episode.
Exactly. So what that means for shooting is we actually, unlike where I can say today we're gonna do episodes 10:01, 10:02, and 10:03. Smartypants, we just have X number of presentations in a day. We can usually get around 9 or 10 in a day. How many episodes that breaks out to be, we really only find out in the edit. As you know from that show, the comedians that present on that show also then sit in the audience. And we have a rotating number of cast that sit in that audience. So we do have to be mindful of people who are in a presentation but then are in the audience of other ones, that it doesn't feel like you're breaking continuity too much from episode to episode.
Right.
Smartypants is the least structured when it comes to shooting by number of episode. It's just shot by number of presentation.
Right. Interesting. You and I have both been in this town a while.
Sure.
So I've noticed, like, you know, in the past, when I've talked with my colleagues, I've often heard them say, like, they're interested in getting in the door with whatever company is kind of giving them most creative freedom at the time. And I've heard, oh, I want to get in with Netflix. How do I get in with Netflix? And I've heard, oh, I want to get in with A24. How do I get in with A24? And especially in the past year or two, I've been hearing a lot of people saying, I want to get in with Dropout. How do I get in with Dropout? And so
I love to hear it.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. You made my whole day. Thanks, Richard.
Good. So let me ask, like, are you guys feeling that on the inside? Are you, like, do you develop all your stuff internally, or, like, what is that? What does that feel like on the inside, Dropout?
It's a really great question. I think that we are aware to some extent that Dropout's reputation and name is becoming a little bit more known. I struggle with saying a household name because we are who we are, and we are an independent niche comedy streaming platform. So we're all well aware that we're not as ubiquitous as a Netflix or a Hulu. But particularly after the last Emmy campaign that we ran, which we've done 2, one in 2023, one just this past spring and summer in 2024. And the second one, we put more, thank you very much. That's great, thank you. This second Emmy campaign that we ran in 2024, we put more resources into it, if for nothing else, as an exercise in getting people to see Dropout as a player in the television industry. And that came with articles in Variety, Deadline, Collider, Screen Rant, a bunch of others, Polygon. When those start to happen at a higher level, there is this door that opens to the industry being a little bit more aware of who you are. It is still internally a hard concept to grasp that there might be significantly more people that watch and love and enjoy this content than meets the eye. I think because we are still small. Like I said earlier, we still don't even have 30 full-time staff members yet. We are still remote. Our studio is very humble. I tell people it's like that. If they were to go on Craigslist, it would be who used the word charming. Like it is charming. It's very charming. But it is, you know, we are not Netflix, and proudly not Netflix. Netflix is incredible. Big consumer, big fan.
Yeah.
And we're well aware that we're not that. So what does that mean internally, development-wise? We still develop most of our shows internally. Sam Reich is a genius. And I'm just saying that because he employs me. He really is one of the smartest.
It's a little breezy out there.
He is one of the smartest, most thoughtful comedic minds that I think is out there right now. And so he has a really great pulse on what is going to work and what an audience might want to see, even if they don't know yet what that is. And you can't outsource that kind of magic. With that said, there's also a practical reality that we are big and busy enough now that Sam specifically, who is the host of several shows, the showrunner, writer, creator of several shows, there's a reality that Sam is one person as the host, showrunner, and writer of more than a couple of our shows. He cannot be the forever solution to all of our development. So only recently we have started bringing other people to the table. A lot of times friends of the family, people that we've worked with in the past, either on camera or behind the scenes, to help us develop a show, to help us write pitches for Game Changer, Make Some Noise, actually working with outside writers, stuff that used to be done entirely internally. We are now relying on the vast amount of talent that exists in this town. And I think that we're going to see more of that as we grow. It's a fine line to walk, because when you are a production company and a studio, which is a weird thing that Dropout is, we are both. But from right now, I'm talking about the production company, the producing entity of this content. We have a very specific point of view. We talked about culture earlier. We talked about the kinds of shows that we have. Anyone who watches Dropout, I would agree that all of our shows have a certain vibe. They have a certain energy to them. It's certainly comedy, it's variety, it's mostly unscripted, in the sense that that's the category it would fall into in the television industry. But despite that there is a spectrum of types of shows, they all have a lightheartedness to them, a warmth. I read a comment online once that I loved that said all of Dropout's shows feel handmade. And I loved that comment. First of all of television is handmade. And I think that's a really important thing to know, is that there are people physically working on every single piece of content that you see, big, small, or otherwise.
AI has not taken over our jobs yet.
Not yet. And if Dropout has anything to say about it, it won't. But there is something to being a small producing entity that can really impart its voice. The hard line to walk then becomes, as you bring more people into that fold, making sure that you are both expanding your point of view for inclusive purposes, as well as providing new content to our subscribing audience, without losing who you are. And who we are is a very specific kind of content. And that's a tough line to walk. And I think we're learning how to do that right now. So I know objectively there will be more opportunities for people to work with Dropout as the next year and two go on, because we have no choice but to grow. If I could clone Sam Reich, I would. But I can't.
So let me ask that. If you could go back to NYU when you were first setting off on your producing journey, what advice would you give yourself?
If I could go back to NYU and give my very inexperienced self advice, I would say a few things. One, be open-minded.
Yeah.
I am only here at Dropout producing unscripted television and loving it because the show I was on before that was a kid's show called Reading Rainbow, which got me to fall in love with the world, the real world, nonfiction, unscripted, travel, which was a job that I got because it was my first and only opportunity to work in this industry.
Yeah.
But when I went to school, I was sure that I was going to produce big budget feature films. And yet here I am doing what you could argue is exactly the opposite. And I love every minute of it. So be open-minded. Two, I would remind myself that this isn't going to be easy. This is a tough industry to work in. It is rife with rejection. And that is hard. The grind is hard, especially in an industry that relies so much on freelance work. like we talked about earlier, being a freelance worker is a job in and of itself, in addition to the jobs and gigs that you already have, right? If you are working on a show, you have to also be thinking about the next job that you're going to get, and that's its own career. It's hard work. The people I've seen the most successful in this industry are the people who stick it out. Sometimes lightning strikes. Sometimes someone gets real famous or real successful right away, and that's great for them. But if I'm being honest with you, Richard, like I said, I've been in this industry now 15 years, and only now, 3 years into my career Dropout, and many years and many companies and shows later, do I feel a little bit like I've made it. 15 years. That's a long time. And when you're in that first year, and then that first 5, and you've worked your ass off, it can feel like the rat race, right? You're in that space where you've worked your ass off and you have tried as hard as you can, and you still don't feel like you've hit your mark. Stick around. Keep going. It's going to work. And finally, I would tell myself that you will hear a lot of people in this industry, particularly people that grew up in this industry in the 80s, in the 90s, that there is a certain way things have to be done. That gatekeeping. Yeah. This is what set culture is like. This is what it means to be a studio executive. This is how certain people have to be treated. Usually not good enough. We pay people this because that's just the way it is. I would tell myself to challenge that at every step that you can. You're not going to win every argument. You're not going to be able to make that change in every place, but particularly for producers. I know this is a podcast about producing and for producers. If you are a producer, you are in a position of power. You are in a position where you get to hire people, you get to set the tone of what it is you're creating and making. And you will always have executives, network executives, studio executives. You'll have creators and showrunners whose ideas are the best ideas that have ever happened in all of the world that you have to navigate. And that's the job. But don't forget that in the middle of all of that, you have a place too, and you have a voice. And so telling myself in those early days of NYU that you should be thinking about the way that you want to produce content, because you will have the opportunity to make it the way that you want to. And I really hope that that means making it fun, safe, healthy, positive work environment where people can make a healthy and sustained living.
And that is Season 3, Episode 25 of the Producers Lounge podcast. Thank you to my guest, Kyle Rohrbach, for joining us. You can find out more about him by checking out the show notes and subscribing to our YouTube channel at Greater Grander. Our intro and outro music today was Faster Does It by Kevin MacLeod. Our episode still image is the official logo of Dropout.tv. We'd love to hear from you, and you can check out this week's accompanying article on greaterandgrander.com entitled What I Learned Traveling Across the Country by Train, 12 Hard Truths About Control, Cost, and Storytelling. Link in the show notes. You can stay up to date by following us on YouTube and social media at the handle Greater Grander, all one word. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube or wherever fine podcasts are found. And also, if you like what we do, share this podcast with a friend who you think will enjoy it. Join us next week for more cocktails and questions, and until then, keep producing dreams.